Hey there, it's Niall Livesey with Test Drive. We're taking a look today at the 2003 Mercedes-Benz E500. Now, we started this channel just over a year ago doing videos about my E38 BMW 7 Series. However, it could have just as easily been a car that almost looks just like this. I was in the market to buy a 2004 E500 wagon in the same blue. So, fate had it, could have had this car here instead of mine. We're going to be taking a look at this car, showing you all the features, the ins and outs, taking it for a test drive, and showing you what you need to know if you're in the market for a W211 Mercedes-Benz.
The E-Class has always had unique styling traits when compared to the S-Class. While the W124 looked like a smaller W140 in many regards, the W210 E-Class initiated the styling rift to make its design unique from its bigger brother. The separated high and low beams were unique to that E-Class and continued on for 2 generations until the facelift W212 was launched in 2013. Now, if all those chassis codes aren't confusing enough, the technical designation for the estate would be an S211. You know, W for sedans and S for wagons. Good work, Mercedes. Finished in platinum blue metallic paint, the E500 comes with bi-xenon headlamps and halogen fog lights, headlamp washers, which we'll talk about a bit later, and rain-sensing windshield wipers for the first dual-blade wipers fitted to an E-Class since 1985. The chrome trim wraps around the body of the third-generation E-Class and gives it a distinctive look. While the 4MATIC four-wheel drive system was offered on these models, this E500 routes power to the rear wheels only. Other options available were Parktronic parking sensors for the front and rear of the car, and the standard Airmatic dual-control air ride suspension on E500 V8 models like this one. While this generation E-Class is larger than its predecessor, it managed to lose some of the interior space in the process. Still, despite this, I found that the 190-inch length to be a perfect fit for this midsize luxury car. Inside, we're greeted with the Pacific Blue Nappa leather interior and the upgraded wood-trimmed steering wheel. The interior design is functional and elegant, with the center controls logically laid out. To the left of the steering wheel is the headlight controls, with parking lights, auto setting, front and rear fog lights are activated by pulling out the switch, and the headlamp washer has a button to activate. Let's talk about that blue steering wheel. On the left are the instrument cluster controls, and the right the volume controls and phone buttons. Cycling through the instrument cluster will give you music, outside temperature, and fuel economy information. On the left side of the cluster is your digital fuel gauge and analog clock. On the right, your tachometer in tens multiplied by hundreds, and the digital coolant temperature indicator. Along the driver's door are traditional Mercedes-Benz controls, 3 memory seat options, power mirror controls, and automatic window switches. The window trim contours the controls and flows down the length of the door into the B-pillar. The armrest is made up of soft, stitched leather, and below that is the Harman Kardon Logic 7 speaker and the trunk release switch. Like other Mercedes-Benz models we've toured, the trunk is spring-loaded and opens fully when asked of it. Down the center of the cabin are your quad-zone climate controls, your audio system, and gear shift lever. A navigation system was optional for this car, but shown here is the screen you get with a standard setup, with audio controls on the left and phone controls on the right. Below that are the heated seat controls, electronic stability program switch, door locks, and the rear headrest release button. Just below the shifter is the sport suspension button and the air ride height control. When pushed, the car will raise or lower about 1.5 inches, which could be useful for getting over a hoist or over larger speed bumps. The car will automatically adjust the height anytime a passenger is added or removed from the car. At the top of the roof, you'll find the built-in map lights and home link integrated into the rear view mirror, along with the SOS switch, tow button, moonroof controls, and the ambient interior lighting. The rear passengers have their own independent lighting controls. Shown is the ambient lighting when the headlights are on, but the rear doors can be programmed to only turn on if one of the rear doors are opened, rather than all the interior lights coming on if any door is opened. The rear seats are incredibly comfortable. The armrests on the doors continue the wood trim into the stitched leather. An ashtray is located on either door, and the large pockets line the bottom where the rear speaker is located. Like some other luxury cars, air vents are located in the B-pillars to assist with the quad zone automatic climate control, which can be operated from the rear control panel for either passenger.
Well, the car certainly feels like the E500 wagon I took out before, which is good to know that the wagons and the sedans feel pretty good to drive. But this car, it's not heavy. The steering is actually really, I mean, compared to my car, you could easily pinky turn this one. But it's not as stiff as the E38, and it's not as stiff as the C300 that we just did. But it feels really good. And actually, the ride quality is really smooth. Like, just going over bumps, it's nice. Visibility all around, very good. That is a big ass rear view mirror. I think it's the biggest one I've ever seen. But you've got your HomeLink controls underneath it, so you've got to add all that technology there for it. And then let's see what this 5-liter V8's made out of. That's about right. Ooh, and even a big bump like that, like you don't really feel it. That one you do though. That one you do. Welcome to Hamilton. So the only thing I've noticed about this, unlike most of the other cars I've driven, the turn indicator stock is actually very low down the steering column. And I don't know if that's with all W211s or all Mercedes from that generation, but it's quite a bit lower because you've got your cruise control stock just above it, whereas on other cars usually it's below or on the steering wheel. So it's a little bit different if you're in a different car and you're coming to the E500. Yeah, so you've got a leather steering wheel with the wood on the top and the bottom, which is pretty traditional for Mercedes-Benz. You see it a lot on the S-Class and the E-Class like this. And for me personally, in my opinion, it adds to the character and the level of luxury that you get with the car. I know a lot of people will say that having the wood makes it look like an old man car, but I personally like it. And this wood is, you know, in some light conditions it's a dark black, and then as we're driving around here, even though it's overcast, it's kind of got a green tint to it, and really looks really nice with the blue interior of the car. There's quite a pull there. We're probably in second gear with sport mode and the suspension on stiff mode, but you can certainly feel that there is a change there when you're in the sport suspension mode over the luxury smooth feel. If you're looking to buy a W211, there's really a couple things you have to look for. With the E500, you want to make sure that there's no issues with the engine, of course, but the issues that Mercedes really had in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s was rust. So take a look at the top of the strut towers in the engine bay. If there's rust there, then you've got problems. And then obviously any surface rust along the doors, you're going to want to avoid that. And the rear quarters as well, which is really traditional with any car, especially if you're buying one up here in Canada. Overall, if you're going to be driving this type of Mercedes-Benz, I can tell you right now that you're not going to be disappointed. And it's a car that I've been looking at for a couple of years now. As I said, it was one of the cars we were originally going to buy instead of the 7 Series. Driving it again puts a smile on my face, and I think that if I had this car in my driveway, much like my car currently, every time I get into it, it would bring joy to my face. Whee! And that really is the question. Do I want to leave this E-Class to go home to a 7 Series? Thanks so much for watching this video. If you have any questions about this car, please leave a comment below and we'll do our best to answer them. If you liked the video, give us a thumbs up, and your support helps us make this show possible. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you again real soon. Take care.